Welcome to the FI Investors Podcast, helping you achieve financial independence through real estate investing, one episode at a time. We talk about personal finance, mindset, and real estate investing. Whether you're a rookie or looking to scale your portfolio, we're here to provide you with the tactics and actionable steps to achieve your goals. Here are your hosts, Diego Corzo and Ward Mahoney.
What is up, Ward? Welcome to another FFF Financial Freedom Fridays. How are you?
What's up, Diego? I'm doing well, man. I'm super excited for this episode. Dive into your lessons learned from being invited from the First Lady of the United States of America, going to the White House, man. Incredible story. Can't wait to jump into it.
Yes. But before we get into that story, want to give you a shout out and congratulations because you have passed your real estate exam.
Yes, sir.
So now you're soon to be realtor. Super excited. And yeah, man, how does it feel? I know you went through the test a couple of times, but you studied and finally make it happen. Tell me a little bit about that.
It feels good, man. It feels, for anyone that's out there kind of going through the process, stick with it. I know how just annoying the test and everything can be, but I can tell you confidently it is worth it. It feels great. It feels really good. It feels like the opening of a pretty big door here. So I'm really excited for what's to come.
Yes, that is awesome. And just for the audience here in Texas, you do need 180 hours, where in other states it's 90, right? So in Florida, I believe it's 90. Other states are 60. In PR is 90. So here's double. And we also have a state and a national test. Yeah. So that's why it's a little bit harder. But yeah, so huge shout out to you.
Thank you.
Yes. And the reason how I found out about the Puerto Rico one for 90 hours was because I just got back after spending 2 weeks over there with the family. I did my one-on-one coaching there too. So that was a lot of fun. And I always come back to Austin super excited, super happy. And I can't wait to go back to Puerto Rico. So
it's good. Man.
It's good. But today we are talking about the White House experience. And the 3 lessons that I learned through that experience. So yeah, Ward, I will get started on that story. But what's really important to note, just for the audience here who may not know, is that I am a DACA recipient. I'm a dreamer. And this FFF is coming out after my podcast interview that just came out on Wednesday. So the reason why we're sharing that is because that was recorded before this White House experience. And I feel like it's important to note the story that's out there because I'm just one of 800,000 DACA recipients. But just because we are a DACA recipient doesn't mean that we cannot accomplish our American dream, right? So what does that mean? It means being a DACA recipient, being a dreamer, is a title that the United States has put on us, of us coming to the United States as kids and not knowing that we were undocumented or that we grew up without having papers. And it wasn't until 22 years old that I could finally work and drive.
Yeah.
Right. And getting invited to the White House for me was a dream come true, and especially being able to take one guest. And I chose my mom for her to be my guest and to also experience that with me, because it feels like it's not just a win for me, but it's a win for the whole family. But what was crazy and how this came about was that in 2017, I shared my story on social media when the Trump administration tried to take away DACA. And one of the reasons why this for me was like a dream come true for the White House is because there were a lot of things that happened to make that happen. There's an organization called Forward.us that they always showcase stories of dreamers or immigrants. And I remember this was back in 2016, 2017, they would showcase these stories. And I was like, man, one day I want to be one of those stories. So I shared my story on social media in 2017 with the taxes that I paid in 2016 of over $28,000. That goes viral. I get on Fox News Austin that weekend. And what happened was that organization reaches out and says, Diego, we want to fly you out to DC to meet with congressmen so that you can share your story with them so that hopefully they can create a path for citizenship to pass something as a law rather than an executive order passed by the president.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like super excited that I was going to have that opportunity. But then as I'm flying out, they tell me, Diego, we also want to create a video about you coming out here. And I was like, wow, that is amazing, because that's one of those videos that I saw that I was like, one day I want to be one of those videos showcasing my story.
Yeah.
So that was really, really, really inspiring for me. I was like, oh my gosh, this is awesome. Then later, they fly me out. I get invited again by that same organization. And this time we're meeting with congressmen, but then they chose like 100 people. They chose the Texas delegation and another state to be in the background of a speech by 2 or 3 dreamers and Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer and a few other people. That was I believe that was in 2019 or 2021.
Okay.
And I was like, man, I was in the back behind them, like with Nancy Pelosi, and there were the 3 dreamers. And I was like, man, one day I'm going to be speaking and I want to be one of those people speaking. Fast forward to 2022, I get invited again to go to DC to meet with congressmen. And this time, I'm getting goosebumps. Then this time I get the message that Monday. They tell me, Diego, so we had the meeting already scheduled, and they say that Monday, they're like, Diego, we want you to give a speech. Are you down to do it? And I was like, yes, for sure. I'll give a speech. They said it's gonna be with Chuck Schumer, Dick Durbin, and all of these senators. And we're choosing you. You're going to be the one that's going to be speaking in front of everybody.
One of 800,000.
One of the 800,000 DACA recipients, right? And so they tell me, do you have a speech ready? And I was like, no, because you're just telling me about this here. So I get to DC on Tuesday.
Yep.
Now, this is the November trip of last year. I get to DC on Tuesday. We work on my speech at 9 p.m. and I was supposed to give it on Wednesday at 11 a.m. So we work on my speech. It was a 3-minute speech.
Yep. And
so we work on it for 2 hours. Then I go back to the hotel room and I practice it until until 1 a.m. I wake up early and I practice it. And at 11 o'clock, I'm out there with Chuck Schumer, Dick Durbin, and giving my speech. My legs are shaking, freaking crazy. But that was like that vision of like me being able to go from like, hey, I want to be in that story one day, then me being right behind like Nancy Pelosi and those. I'm like, one day I want to give the speech. And then fast forward to 2022, I'm there. I'm the one that gives a speech that was incredible. And then, so that was like a dream come true. And then after that, earlier this month, that was in June. So in June, a week before, or a week and a half before June 15th, I get an email that said invitation to the White House by the First Lady and the President. And I was like, I think this is fake. Like, I didn't believe it at all. I was like, no. It said it was for the screening of the movie Flaming Hot by Eva Longoria. So I read it and I'm like, no, this is fake. And then I get a message from one of the people in the organization. It says, hey, we put your name down there and they decided to choose you to come to the White House. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is epic. Now, keep in mind that they're doing it on the 11th anniversary of the DACA program, which was June 15th.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when they tell me that I was going to get invited, I obviously was going to say yes, but I was already traveling to Philadelphia to be the keynote speaker at a realtor event.
Mm-hmm.
And what was crazy was that meeting, like I was supposed to be the keynote speaker at the end to wrap it up and then get everybody, like give them the motivation to go and accomplish their dreams, their vision, whatever. So as that's happening, I'm like, oh my gosh, well, I'm going to say yes to the White House and I'm going to figure out what I'm going to do. So I sent them an email and they were able to put me as one of the beginning speaker or earlier on so that I could fly out. And when I tell them, like, look, I don't usually do this. I'm going to be in Philly, but then somehow I need to be at the White House that same day. I need to be in Washington, D.C. And they said, cool, we'll be as flexible as possible. I'm like, great.
Perfect.
So at that time, when I get the email from the White House, I can bring one guest. So I bring my mom, or I put that. Okay, so the story here was that first I wanted my brother to come because at that point my mom didn't have her green card approved yet. So I was like, I didn't know what was going to happen. So then my mom tells me, no, I'm going. I want to be the one that goes. We'll figure out a way. I'm like, okay.
I love it.
So we put her in the guest list. And then what happens is we go to DC. And then on Tuesday, they tell me, Diego, the White House has chosen you. They want to get from everybody that got invited. They like your bio. And they've chose 4 people to share their story and create some content at the White House.
Wow.
I was like, oh my gosh, this is incredible.
Right there before you continue. Tell me about, like, 1, who told you that? 2, what emotion did you just feel rush through your body?
Yeah. Dude, so it was through a text message by some people in the organization.
From forward.us.
.us. And they are the ones that basically I get a text and I was like, oh my gosh. The answer is yes, because they asked me.
Yeah.
But what this meant is when I said yes, I didn't know that they were gonna be needing me earlier to do all that stuff. Because keep in mind, I'm supposed to be in Philly that day,
right,
too. So I said yes, and I was like, of course, whatever you guys need. And they said, great. They need you there at 5 p.m. The movie screening was at 7:30.
Mm-hmm.
So I knew that, okay, I was going to have enough time to go from Philly to Washington.
Not anymore.
And right. And they're like, okay, we need you there at 5.
Yeah.
That's when the recording will be. I'm like, great. So then what happens is my mom had to go through we had to turn in some documents. We had to fill out some forms so that the Secret Service or whoever does the background check on us would give us a thumbs up.
Mm-hmm.
So we turned that in. Everything is looking good. And then I'm flying out that Wednesday, right? Because the event to Philly was going to be Thursday and then the White House Thursday at night as well.
Yeah.
So I fly out. My mom was flying from Florida to Philly because she's never had seen me speak. I gave a keynote presentation. She saw me on like 2 others in the past, but never a keynote. So I told her, hey, come with me to Philly. And then from there, we'll go to DC. So she's flying from Florida to Philly.
Yep.
I'm flying from Austin to Philly. And in the morning, and you were there, I get that call and we were in a meeting and I was like, Ward, I have to get this call. This is important. And they said, Diego, your mom didn't get approved to be able to get into the White House. And I was like, what do you mean? Or they said your guest. And I was like, no, what do you mean? It's my mom. There's no reason why she wouldn't be able to.
Right.
She's a saint. and like, there's nothing in their background or anything like that.
Yeah.
So she said, yeah, no, we're not going to be able to do it. And I was like, look, she's literally going to the airport right now. What is going on? And they said, no, like, do you want her to come? I'm like, look, she's already on her way. So we'll figure out a way. You tell me what else they need and we'll make it happen.
Mm-hmm.
And she goes, okay. So And 2 hours later, I'm flying out to Philly. I didn't tell my mom any of this yet because I didn't want her to get worried or for her to say, no, I don't want to go anymore. So when we get to Philly, she sees me a little bit stressed. And she's like, what's going on? And I tell her, look, well, this is what's happening. We're trying to figure out a way so that you can get in there. We need a picture of your passports, of as much documents as you can give us, to see if they're going to be able to approve you. She goes, well, okay, we will make it happen.
We'll figure it out.
And so I send them as many documents as I could. I send an email to the White House email that I had available. And then from there, we were able to, from there, as that is going on, I get a message too, because being able to give the speech and flying to Washington, D.C. in an airplane was not going to work because we had to be 45 minutes before, like an hour before, and the place where I was giving the speech was an hour away from the airport. So it was going to be like even an hour behind and all that stuff. Wasn't going to be enough.
Mm-hmm.
So what ended up happening is we had to catch a train.
Mm-hmm.
But I had already planned it because they had told me that they needed me there at 5.
Okay.
So then Wednesday night, we were in Philly at like 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock. And they're like, Diego, we received message from the White House that we actually need us there at 4. So we need to leave the hotel at 3. I was like, so I had to buy new train tickets. And I was like, okay, this gives us right enough time. We got the new train tickets. The next day I show up, I give my speech. Everybody loved it. My mom was super excited because it was her first time seeing me give the whole like speech. And she didn't know that I end my speech of like a 45-minute or hour-long speech with a picture of her and my dad and my brother as like, hey, this is the why of why I do what I do. Right.
Wow, man, that's so cool.
And so everybody's, after I was done, people are coming up to me. They're coming to my mom. And from there, we had to catch an Uber like super quick. What I didn't calculate, because I had calculated the timing for everything from the plane to where from the train. What I didn't calculate was that the highway, I think is the US 90 highway or US 95, there was a truck that exploded on Tuesday and it burned down the part of the highway. So I didn't calculate that part in my whole like Uber rides or the timing. So then it took an hour and a half to get to the train station.
Wow.
So I'm freaking out.
Ooh.
I'm freaking out a little bit. But while all this time, we're figuring out if my mom's going to be able to get in, if I'm going to be able to reach the thing on time. But I keep my cool, right, still. And I'm getting on text messages with different WhatsApps of different people that are going to be going to the hotel, the White House stuff. And from all of this, I had forgotten that I needed to bring my passport. So thanks to you, you also overnighted my passport to Washington, D.C. and made it happen. So thank you for that.
I got you.
And then, so I give my speech. We make it on the train. The train was leaving at 12:36.
Mm-hmm.
And we get to the train station at 12:31.
Oh, my
so
God.
we sprint to the freaking train station part.
That's amazing.
And we sit down,
Yeah.
and 2 minutes later, the train takes off. I was like, oh my gosh.
Thank God.
We didn't eat like anything. There was no time. We get to DC at 2:45. And then I get to the hotel at 2:57. And I know the exact times because we needed to be, yes, because they are telling us, hey, the Uber needs to leave here, the hotel, to get to the White House at 3:10.
Yeah.
I was like, holy crap. So we check into the hotel. I quickly change and I come back down and we take the Uber to the White House.
Yeah.
Not knowing yet if my mom was going to be able to get in or not.
Yeah.
And so then we go through there. We had to go through 2 different checkpoints. And somehow my mom was just able to get in with her passport and her ID. And it was awesome. I guess everything that we had sent before from the organization, because I had sent a lot of different documents, they were able to approve her. So that's great.
Yeah, it was a
Yeah.
Corzo. The Secret Service was just
Right.
like, hey, it's a Corzo.
Right.
Let him in.
Right. So I guess like in between that time of us sending everything, we got the green light so that by the time that my mom was able to show her ID, her driver's license, all that stuff, it was all okay. So that was a huge relief.
Yeah.
And then being there at the White House, we had a little bit of a tour. Then I record some content. So that was great.
Tell me more about that, because I know that was
Yeah.
that was VIP treatment right there.
Yes.
And was it shortly after that you were able to get a little one-on-one time with Joe?
Right? No. So what ended up happening? Yes. So there was some little bit of a VIP treatment because we were able to get a little bit of a tour, and then we went through the Rose Garden too. We took some photos there. We went to the vice president's office too. And we went into the room where MLK wrote one of the drafts for his I Have a Dream speech. So that was amazing. My mom was like super excited, taking photos too and everything.
So proud, I'm sure.
Yes. And then when we make it to the screen of the movie, we hear 3 speeches, one from Eva Longoria, one from the First Lady, and then one from the President. And just like being there and seeing him and just being in that part, it was in the South Lawn, but it was just an incredible experience. And he's giving a speech. When he finishes and he comes down, he's saying hi to people. My mom asks him, "Mr. President, can we please take a selfie? Can you please take a selfie?" He takes my mom's phone and takes a selfie. And I was like, oh, that's my amazing. Gosh. It was awesome. So after that, it was, then we saw the movie, and then the next day, we recorded some more content too, but it was just an incredible experience. So just being there, with my mom, like, it was just awesome because it felt surreal that a week before they had just approved her green card.
Mm-hmm.
And then after 24 years of all this crazy process, my mom finally got her green card approved. A week later, she's with Joe Biden taking selfies, right? I'm like at the White House. So it was an incredible experience for my family and for me to be chosen as part of the Dreamers to share there on the White House. And then later that evening, somebody sent, and I didn't know when they were gonna use that content at all. And then that evening, I received a text and like, "Diego, you're on the White House Instagram profile." And I was like, oh my gosh. So I see it, and then the president's Instagram account also shared me as a story. So my picture is there. The White House is there on a story. I'm like, oh my gosh. It was just an incredible moment. And so
wow.
Yeah.
So I think I want to touch on too is, how old were your parents when they moved from Peru to the States?
They were 32 years old.
So they were your age right now.
They were my age right now.
So Diego, you're 32 years old.
Yeah.
And your mom and your dad made the sacrifice to come to the States at 32 years old. And now just 25 years later.
Yes. That is crazy. That is crazy to be able to, yes, because it's crazy that at their age, 32, they are thinking about, hey, we're having this issue.
Yeah.
Where Peru is not safe.
It's not working.
And we need to start from zero with a family, learn a new language, go to the unknown, not knowing, we're going to come back to Peru, having those like super tough decisions.
Yeah.
And me at their age being at the White House, which is freaking incredible. Just shows that one of the lessons that we're going to be talking to here is that hard work pays off.
Yeah.
Right. At the end, that was one of the things while I was there. I was like, wow, everything has been worth it. And and if you want, we can dabble into those lessons. But dude, it's just like incredible to actually think about all of that stuff that me prior to that too is like buying my condo, and I've just come back from PR and get to experience that with my parents too.
Yeah.
And at age 32, I'm having like my dream condo at the White House and everything. And at their age, they were, how do we start from zero?
Yeah.
Right? Like crazy. Yeah.
Wow. Well, one thing I want to say, going further than hard work pays off, right? We've been working together for, I don't know, 2.5 years at this point, maybe 3. And I would say it's more than hard work. Your ability, one, to leverage your time is really impressive. And then 2, your ability to go out and prioritize building relationships are key. So I would say it's not just hard work.
That's true.
It's working really smart, specifically on relationships and anything that you can leverage, current skill sets, current relationships, etc. But without a doubt, man, seeing your parents come over at 32 and then 25, 30 years later, now your mom is taking literally a selfie
selfies
with the president of the United States.
Exactly.
That's
That is
incredible.
That is crazy. Because I bet you if they had told her that, they were like, no, that's crazy, right? Because to make it to the White House and to get that invitation like that, and then to be chosen to speak and then be the one that's there like on their Instagram or their social media, whatever, as like one of the main dreamers, it's just incredible.
You're the guy.
I was the guy.
So another thing I want to look at too is this concept that we were just talking about, that people overestimate what they can achieve in 1 year, but they greatly underestimate what they can achieve in 5 years.
Yes.
So
or in 10,
right? And to go a little bit deeper with that, Diego, where were you 5 years ago? So at 27, 26 and a half.
Yeah.
Where were you? What did Diego look like?
Yeah. So it's crazy because 5 years ago, let's say, right, when I was 26, 27, that was at the point that I was sharing, that I finally shared my story of being able to I basically came out as a dreamer and share my story on Instagram. And it was me having that fear of the unknown, of not knowing what was going to happen if I share my story.
Yeah.
Of saying, hey, I'm undocumented. And then, but I was also on that path of already, thankfully to my mentors and everything, I was already investing in real estate, right? And I had already reached a level of financial independence through my different properties, my house hacks and all of that stuff.
Yeah.
But I still like, even now, I still feel like I'm just getting started. But back then I was definitely getting started.
Yeah.
Because back then I had 8 doors and
26, 8
26,
doors.
8 doors.
Damn.
Yeah. 8 doors.
Across how many properties?
I would say I didn't own any duplexes or quad. It was all single family.
And those were Austin.
We're in Austin.
Yeah, that's the place to buy.
Yeah. 2 in Florida. Shout out to my brother for selling my dad and I properties that were under 30,000. And shout out to Pascal because we were buying properties together with me being the boots on the ground. Yeah. And we were co-living those properties. So house hacking them. We were renting them by the room.
Gotcha. So you had, say, 4 or 5 single families in Austin, Texas at that point at 26.
Yeah.
Living for free, financially independent. Now we fast forward to today and you have, I would say, somewhere between 65 and 72 doors.
Yeah, around 60. I have around 65 doors right now.
65 doors. It's 66 actually, I think.
Oh, maybe.
I think 66.
You know more than math than I do, so that's good.
And dream apartment in Puerto Rico, obviously completely financially free.
Yeah, it's crazy.
You really see the exponential growth.
Yes.
Going from 6 to 66, whatever that number is.
Yes.
And then prior you were at
And 5
0.
years prior to that.
Yeah.
Right? Because the DACA program was 11 years, celebrating the anniversary while I was there.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So it's almost those 10 years. 5 years prior, so when I was 26, a few years before, like 27, right? I couldn't work or drive 5 years prior to that.
That's crazy.
So I couldn't work or drive, buy my first house at 23, have 8 doors by 26. And then another 5 years later, I'm at 60 something.
Wow.
And, but it's like, I would have totally like that. That's the lesson number one of people they overestimate what they can achieve in 1, but they underestimate what they can achieve in 10 or even 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Because you begin to leverage so many different things that actually happen, that people don't think that will happen, but once you connect the dots, it's incredible.
It blows up. And then the other big lesson too that I want to just shed some light on too is just sharing your story.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the relationships, the opportunities, and just overall the amount of lives that you've touched, other DACA recipients. I see it all the time. People come through your email.
Yeah.
I'm a DACA recipient. I'm trying to do this. Your story truly inspires me.
Yes.
It's opened so many doors. You've helped so many people. And I don't think the White House could have chosen anyone better to represent the DACA community. So
thank you. Yeah, that is lesson number 2. Lesson number 2 is don't be afraid of sharing your story, because it was something that I had to work on because I had a fear of sharing it. But also a lot of people don't share it because they think that they're going to come out maybe as too cocky, or they're not going to understand it. Like they think that other people are not going to understand them. But I go from the other approach. It's like you're dimming your light by not sharing your story because you don't know who you're going to inspire. And whether you have one property or you're on your path to even buying your first property, you don't know that by you sharing your story, maybe on Instagram or telling other people, you inspire other people to get started.
Yeah.
And that's even better. You never know what's going to happen, who the people that you're inspiring, whether it's sharing that you're travel hacking or you're sharing that you're buying your first house hack, MTR, whatever. You can be a mentor to many other people, maybe just one step behind you.
Yeah.
That's all it is. So lesson number 1 is about the overestimate and underestimate. Lesson number 2 is don't be afraid of sharing your story. And that is one thing I tell you all the time. Share your story more on Instagram.
Yes.
Yeah, just do your stories, do some posts. Because dude, you've accomplished a lot too by the time that you're 26, and now that you're getting your license, there's going to be a lot more opportunities for you. So definitely continue to share your story there. And then of course, number 3 is the hard work pays off, but then you added the working smartly, like doing the smart work. That definitely pays off. So
relationships, invest in relationships and skills.
Yes.
Those
and know that
things.
While I was there at DC, I obviously dude, I'm just one of 800,000, and I've been fortunate enough that I was chosen. But there's a quote that I heard from Cody Sanchez one time. It was from Maya Angelou, and it said, I stand here, I am here as one, but I stand as 10,000. And I was like, crap, this is good. And I was like, I'm standing as one there at the White House, but I'm there representing the 800,000 DACA recipients, over 1 million dreamers, and the 11.2 undocumented immigrants that we have in this country. But yeah.
I love it.
It's crazy. It's crazy.
Wow. Well, Diego, thank you so much for sharing your story. Thanks so much for taking the time and walking us through the 3 main lessons that you've learned. I feel like we got to do another episode on this and more about your journey too. That was amazing.
Yes. Awesome. Well, thank you, Ward. And welcome to another FFF from FI Investors. Guys, for anybody that does want to reach out to Ward and I on Instagram, at Real Diego Corzo on Instagram. Ward is at Ward Mahoney REI.
W Mahoney REI.
W Mahoney REI. Go to the fiinvestors.com website. We have a lot of different things for you there. And if you can, please give us a rating and review on Spotify and on iTunes. Thank you very much, and we'll see you next time.
See you guys.
Thank you for listening to the FI Investors Podcast. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes. And share this with a fellow real estate investor who you think would find value in what we do. Until next time.